Just as a sort of quick note before I get started here, I've been carrying IWB, that's inside the waistband, style holster, concealed for, years now, okay? This is the specific holster that I've been carrying for a long time. It's made by a local guy, real cool guy. He does a lot of different holsters. They're all made to order, they're all custom, a lot of different options. This is one of his nicer holsters. Cost me about 120 bucks, but that's what you pay for when you buy a custom holster, okay? You can see this has only got one attachment point, all right, and it's going to sit at kind of a high cant. This is specifically a right hand side, strong side only. You can't interchange it on different size. IWB, okay, guy's company's called International Handgun Leather, and this is easily the best holster I've ever used, and I think I might have spoiled myself when I got this, because I imagine that it's going to take a lot for me to be able to accept other holsters now that I've been carrying with this for so long. And you can see that this leather's, it's been sweat on, it's been used, okay. But that's the best I've ever seen. That's what I've been using, so that's what I'm comparing it to. Kind of a high standard. You can tell I'm in a safe situation here. I don't know why everybody obsesses with that about demonstrating that the gun's not loaded on the internet. It's not like I can hurt you. But anyway, I'm not going to show safety anymore because it's retarded to do it over and over again in the video. So for the purposes, here's the XD40. I'm currently wearing no shirt and the SuperTuck, okay? I'm going to go ahead and just holster this, and I'm going to put the camera here into the mirror a little bit just so you can kind of see. I'm a real skinny guy, okay? I'll zoom all the way out here. Now, again, I am really skinny. I'm 6'2", maybe 150 pounds. I'm a little bit out of shape right now. Usually I'm a little bit more physically active, a little bit more muscle weight, but you can see this is the Crossbreed SuperTuck sort of just out of the box, not broken in at all, okay? From this perspective over here a little bit, all right? I gotta be honest, I took this out of the box and started immediately trying to adjust it because right out of the box it was horrible. The cant was almost non-existent. This here was sticking out, like I might as well have a tail. And as far as the comfort of all this extra leather that they've got on here, it went down so far that if I hadn't started adjusting it, I would have just immediately returned it because it would have ended up digging in pretty much all the way over here, which you don't even expect the holster to be here, but that's the edge of the holster, and then all the way back here, okay, where you don't expect the holster to be either, especially when you're used to something, as small as this as your whole holster. Okay, but you can see I got it adjusted pretty well. Okay, I've got good cant. I've pulled it in as close to my skinny torso as I can. Just for the sake of demonstration, if I put a magazine that's loaded into the back of the gun and don't chamber around, which is totally safe, so don't freak out and write a bunch of comments about it. That adds most of the weight, minus one bullet. Okay, I do that. This doesn't feel any different. So all the stuff you've read about Crossbreed, where this thing distributes the weight very well, I totally agree. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and eject that mag so everybody can stop obsessing. So for the purposes of weight distribution, I agree with the hype. It's phenomenal, okay? But I don't agree with a lot of the other things that everybody talks about in their reviews. Specifically, I thought it was ridiculous to pay money to have them give me less leather, so I got the standard cut, and my plan is, if I do keep this, which I'm not sure if I will, my plan is to specifically figure out where I need the access for my thumb, and I'm going to draw a dotted line and cut it myself. Just to give you an idea, there is a little bit of an issue with that for me. Okay, when I come in to draw, I want my thumb right here. Okay, and with my other holster, that's just me pushing into my skin, and people are squishy, so I can do that very easily. With this, the leather makes it a little bit harder. So usually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my thumb in this really weird position, hook it with these fingers over here, all right, or I might put my thumb over here. I don't know what I'm going to do. Start to pull it up, then I'm going to have to adjust my grip up to get my thumb in place. All all right, and go on target. So bringing this back down in here, reholster, gives you a little idea. It does maintain its shape. You can reholster easily, so anything they've said about that is true. Okay. Personally, I've seen a lot of holsters that are going to have this same configuration. I've seen a lot of holsters that do the 2 attachment points on the belt really wide apart, because, to be honest, everybody who's ever tried making holsters IWB comfortable has figured out, after trial and error over the many years that they've been doing it, which they've been doing it for as long as leather and handguns have been around, okay? So we're not talking about a new theory here. They figured this out a long time ago. This isn't a crossbreed thing, okay? They figured out a way to do it specifically and make it tuckable and still comfortable according to them, and adjustable and all the other things that they say it does. So again, it is comfortable as far as spreading the weight out, but it's, for me, for such a skinny guy, and this is probably true for women because they're going to have a similar issue that I have, where their bodies aren't like men, okay? They've got curves, they've got hips, etc., etc. This thing here, it's too much. There's so much holster where there doesn't need to be holster. The clips are metal. You don't think that that's a problem. You think metal's better than plastic, okay? People talk about them marring their belts up. I don't care about marring my belt up. Down here, where this clip ends, it's metal. They stamp it, okay? That's how they make these clips. They just stamp them out of pieces of metal. That's a sheer edge down there that I guarantee is going to wear my clothes out, where that's rough. I can feel it every time I move. I can feel that metal snagging, okay? And granted, I could sand that down, and I will, of course, if I decide to keep it. But the point is it doesn't need to be as massive, I don't think, as it is, all right? Now I'm just going to go ahead and take it off, okay, which, I'll be honest, is a ridiculous ordeal, almost as ridiculous as putting it on. I think probably the best possible way to get this holster on, especially if you're about to tuck some clothes into it, if you're wearing dress clothes. I wasn't even about to try that and be able to do a video, but I think the best thing to do is to literally put your pants on the ground, shorts, whatever, put the holster in them, pull the pants up, pop the clips over the belt, adjust it to the right position, put the gun in. That's probably the easy way to do it. I'm going to set the camera down just for a split second. Here's a look at it, okay? You can see I've been moving the things around to get the right cant so that I can hide the back of the gun on my skinny body, okay? So original position for these was here and here, all right? They use T-nuts. Probably the worst idea in the history of holster making I've ever seen. I was skeptical about it when I saw it online. I was skeptical about it when I heard people talking about it in the reviews. They say, oh, I don't feel this. You can feel it. You can notice it. I imagine after enough time, the leather would soften and sort of mold around this a little better. But I'll be honest, you can feel the edges of these. T-nuts are not something that should be used in a person or on a person or in anything that has to do with clothing or wearable stuff. My experience with T-nuts is I'm a rock climber. I used to build climbing walls, and we use T-nuts on the back of the plywood so that we can bolt the holes to the wall. And what we do is we take this T-nut, put it on the plywood, all right, and then we grab a hammer and we hammer the thing into the back of the plywood, and it's got these little bitty teeth that as you hammer it in, go into the wood and hold it in place so that later on you can screw into it without having to hold on to the back, okay? And that's the same idea here, except this is leather, not wood, okay? And the side that the T-nut's on is your body, all right? The other problem is I can see already, you can see these are the holes left from those little spikes, okay? I moved this, and every time I moved it, I had to get my vice grips out and clamp down on the little bitty teeth, all right, and flex the teeth back into a normal position, because you have to hammer it into the leather to get it to protrude through enough so that you can get the screw started, and then grab your screwdriver or screw gun in this case and tighten it down to really squeeze that T-nut and those spikes into the leather, because you can't hammer it all the way in. You can get some little divots started with the hammer, But this is leather, it's soft, it's not wood, it's not going to drive in, okay? Try, if you don't believe me, grab a nail and a piece of leather and try to hammer a nail through leather. Like, it's not, it's not easy. All right, but I got it adjusted here, and I'll be honest, until I got this one here and this one here and figured that out to get me the better cant, all right, it was miserable. I was constantly thinking, I'm going to send this back, okay? And the biggest problem that I had is I started immediately adjusting upward, and what that did is it pulled the lip of this Kydex below the top edge of my pants and where the top edge of my belt is, all right? And essentially what would happen is as soon as I pull my gun out, that material would fold in because it wants to be tight, and that's, you know, the belt is pushing against that. It would fold over this, and then I'd try to reholster, everything's in the way. You can't do it. Okay, so that was obviously not going to work. I adjusted, figured it out. This is what I'm talking about, though. This is the bottom of the clip, okay? Look how tiny that screw is. Look how much extra clip there is there, all right? This one actually hangs down off the bottom, and you can see right there where they stamp and then just sort of break these off. This right here, both of those little points, super sharp, all right? Same thing on this one. You can't see these easily because the leather's there, and it's not as much of an issue. But that's my point. Metal, not the greatest thing to make a large holster component out of, in my opinion. Stronger, yes. Better, not necessarily, okay? But specifically, look at how much, I mean, people talk about this as being the thing that makes it comfortable, this giant piece of leather. That's not what makes it comfortable. The distance between here and here is what makes it comfortable from a weight perspective. The more distance you have here and here, and on top of that, you've got the IWB concept where you're inside the waistband, your belt is pressing against this. That's where the comfort of weight distribution comes from, all right? It has absolutely nothing to do with how much material you've got here. This up here has nothing to do with the overall comfort of carrying a giant hunk of metal on your person, okay? It's purely what everybody else in the holster industry has already figured out way long ago. The more distance you have between these 2 points, the more comfortable it's going to be. All right, so don't let them fool you. Don't let the other reviewers fool you. Say, oh, look at how much leather there is. Look at how much surface area there is. That's going to make it super comfortable. Okay, I mean, to be honest, this up here from about here up, for my body type, mostly useless. All right, this down here for this gun, which I already demonstrated, is not loaded. All right, this gun goes in here, or this is the 4-inch, right? So the 5-inch would be a bit longer, and your barrel would go past that. But for me, this is actually the perfect length right here. This doesn't need to be down here. The metal doesn't need to be there. This doesn't need to go that low. The metal doesn't need to be there. This doesn't need to be up here at all as far as I'm concerned. All this whole area over here. All right, and then if we look at this, what's this leather here doing? What's all this doing? Okay, I understand what's happening in sort of this region, but this is just massive. And what it is its production cost, okay? They figured out if we take a single piece of leather, cut it exactly the same way every time, we take some stamping and stamp out massive amounts of clips exactly the same every time, buy a couple of screws, buy a couple of T-nuts, our production cost is so low, okay, that they can hammer these holsters out, right? You know what, this is nice leather, I'll give you that. And it's horsehide, which is a little bit rare. But when you go to a custom leather shop to get a holster made, you know why this cost $100, $120, $100 plus? Because a dude sat down and worked this leather by hand into the shape that it is, hand stitched it, sewed it. This is reinforced with Kydex on the inside, okay? This is quality leather with hand stitching, hand worked. Okay, that's why this costs $120. This, with any options at all, is going to cost you almost $100, about $90 if you get the combat cut and a different set of clips. You're up to $100 pretty quick. Okay. Now, essentially, what I'm saying is, they figured out that if they do all this, they minimize their manufacturing costs. Okay, but they're selling you a nice piece of leather with all this extra, metal clips. Okay, great, that's a sales point. Nice leather. Okay, great, that's a sales point. But realistically, this leather is just cut There's no stitching. It's not, this